All right, we'll call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments needed?
I have one requested amendment under executive session. I'd like to add contract negotiation, which is 1 VSA 313A1.
Okay, any other changes needed?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to amend the agenda to add contract negotiations?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Rod, seconded by Jeff. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, that motion carries. Aye. Approval of minutes from November 2nd.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from November 2nd.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Rod, seconded by Jeff to approve the minutes from November 2nd. Any corrections needed?
I didn't see any.
Alright.
You're good, Jeff? Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Appointment with Mr. Jepson for, I always get these wrong, so I'm not even gonna pronounce it, but.
Cedar.
I don't wanna get it wrong on it.
The Chamber and Economic Development. And Jeff, are you not here because you knew I was coming?
Yes.
I usually try to avoid you, Lyle. I knew that.
Yes.
Even in school, so, and it worked. Want to thank you for having us here tonight. I'm here with Kim Roop, who is our community engagement director, I'm sorry. And she has been working on the regional marketing initiative, which you are and have been supporters since the very beginning. We're entering what we're calling year 6 at this point, and this past year you supported us with a donation or sponsorship of $500, and we're back to talk to you about that. You know, whenever you see me, I'm probably asking for money. And so Kim has some statistics with her that we'd like to share so you can see how things have been going. And I want to show you how we've been spending your money and where that money's been coming from. And then, of course, I've got an ask after that. So thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. So, Kim.
Thank you for having us. I'm just going to give you guys these to pass around. And I'm just going to run through them really quickly. As Lyle said, we're entering year 6. As I'm sure you can imagine, a campaign like this, it takes a few years to start seeing what your results look like because a move across the country certainly doesn't happen overnight. But we're super excited to be able to share. A lot of our statistics are looking really strong and happy to share them with our towns this year. So really quick overview. As you'll see on the handout, we've seen over 100 individuals move into Rutland County as a result of our Real Rutland Regional Marketing Initiative and our Concierge program. That equals out to about 50 new families total to Rutland County. Some of these people are single individuals, some of them are young couples, some of them are retired, some of them are a family of 5. Let's see, we've had of those 50 new families, they've moved into over 10 towns countywide. Full disclosure, many of them are moving into the city of Rutland, but we're very excited to start seeing a lot of them are moving into the more rural towns, primarily as a result of the pandemic. They're looking for that more rural lifestyle. Primarily the industries that we're seeing them move into are healthcare, nonprofit leaders, and obviously, as I'm sure it's no surprise, a lot of remote workers. Our Real Rutland Concierge program is made up of over 25 very active volunteers that represent Rutland County. They are individually matched with people who are looking to move here to answer questions about life in Rutland County and Vermont in general. It's been widely successful, and they represent over 10 towns as well in Rutland County. We currently do not have someone from Fairhaven, so we'd love to hear if you have any individuals in mind that are interested in participating in that program. It would be a great way to promote Fairhaven and hopefully encourage some of these folks to move into the town of Fairhaven. If you flip over to the back of that page, we are in the middle of Q4 for our marketing initiative for 2021, which is running from October 4th to January 10th, 2022. These are the 5 primary marketing platforms that we're using for this campaign. Facebook and Instagram, paid search, LinkedIn, Killington TV to highlight those skiers that are here for World Cup, and display. So this percentage that you'll see in the middle of the page represents how much money we're spending for that specific media buy. For example, we're using 51% of our media buys are going to Facebook and Instagram, and expected to reach anywhere from 265,000 people to 325,000. So we'll be looking at those results on January 11th. At the bottom of the page, real quick, some of our general statistics. We have over 3,000 Facebook followers, over 1,900 Instagram, and we send regular emails to over 45,000 recipients through our email marketing as well. The last thing I will leave you with before Lyle, we are still constantly updating our website, so you know your town better than anyone else, so take a look. If you feel like we're missing something, feel free to fill this out and send it back to us, and we'll be happy to update it for you.
Every town in the county has a page, and Fairhaven has a page on realrutland.com. And again, we want you to tell us what you want to have up there. And if you're anything like me, and because you're on the select board and it's budget time, you want to know, well, how much do things cost? Where's the money coming from? And how is this being subsidized anyway? You're going to see that we raised a little over 5 years, $600,000, a little more than $600,000. We have spent to date approximately $544,000, so you see there's a remainder there. What that remainder does is it carries us through a period of time until hopefully our municipalities get to the vote. They vote yes, we start to get some more money in, and we continue on. You'll see there how we're spending that money. In large part, it's been on our marketing firm and on the digital advertising. The follow-up question, if I was the town of Fairhaven, would be, well, who else is doing this other than us? We don't want to be the only ones doing this. And where's this money coming from? And so we're pretty transparent. Here's where the money's coming from, and a little more detail on where it's going. And you will see that in large part the business community is subsidizing this project. At more than $330,000, the business community, and you see it's all the players you would expect to see. The Casellas, the Green Mountain Powers, the big companies who are desperate for employees. And so they are actively advertising on realrutland.com that they have openings. And that is drawing people here. We have some issues when people come here, one of which, and this is not going to surprise you, is housing. We can't find affordable market rate rental properties for people to move into. And that is hurting our businesses. So that's another project that we're working on. You'll see the towns there as well as who else is participating. And the largest donor has over time been the city of Rutland. What we generally ask people when we go out to the municipalities is we would love a donation of $1 a person. Fairhaven has come in at $500, I think, this last year. And so we would encourage you to continue that or increase that if you would like to. And of course, we would like to have you. But I'm going to leave you with something else, which is a little different, because it's also marketing. And on February 26th, Joe reached out to me on this. We're having something called the Real Rutland Feud. And the Real Rutland Feud is just what you expect. It's Family Feud, only with businesses and towns that participate. And we're looking for 10 businesses or towns to play the Real Rutland Feud. It's a fundraiser for the Regional Marketing Initiative. And it costs $1,500 to field a team, and it's a blast. The reason I bring it up tonight is that we recently went to your Economic Development Committee And at that meeting, they were talking about how do we market Fairhaven? How do we get people to know that we're here? Well, there's internal marketing and there's external marketing. OurRealRutland.com will do your external marketing, but not enough people know about Fairhaven in our own county. I think you could get people to come here from within our own county. One way to do that is to participate in activities and events. So here's one opportunity if you would like to do that. And we would love to have you challenge another town. And one town that needs to be challenged is Brandon.
Oh, man.
Bill Moore.
There you go, Joe.
If you're interested,
I asked
would love to have you
Castleton.
challenge Bill
Gotcha.
Moore because he just joined our
Team up.
board.
They backed
And I'm
out.
pressuring him to challenge you with the real Rutland Feud. So, here's some more propaganda about what we do, our annual reports in here, all of our different committees and what they're up to. We're open to questions. I know you've got a full agenda, and we appreciate your time. If you were to say, wow, how much money do you want? I'd love $1 a person. But for the regional marketing initiative, that is, not for me. If you'd like to be part of the Feud, we'd love you to do that too. If you decided that $500 is where you wanted to go this year, we still love Fairhaven. My blood still runs Slater blue. So, questions?
Questions, Ron? Yeah.
I'm interested in talking to the Fairhaven
Yeah.
folks, the Economic Development Committee, and see how they feel about what we should, donate or and see how they feel about the direct impact to Fairhaven, because that'll pretty much drive how much we donate. So.
And the bummer is Glenn is on, really active member of that committee who is away on vacation, I believe.
He invited us to that committee meeting, and it was a great meeting.
Yeah, I mean, they do a lot of,
We're excited about doing some things for Fairhaven.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
they're doing a lot of good
Not
work.
looking for an answer tonight.
Yeah, no.
What we generally do is I'll connect with Joe, and
Yep.
you folks will decide what you want to do. And we, again, appreciate your time.
And we'll connect, we're working on budget now to get ready for town meeting and all that. So we'll work on that as we go through the process. Hopefully get more feedback from, Jeff's being quiet on the line. Jeff, do you have any feedback? Questions?
Do we have that in our budget at this point, the 500?
Yeah, Jeff, there's 500 in there now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to throw that out there to you, Lyle. I think there is a placeholder in there.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, any questions from community members? Seal?
Hi, Lyle. You mentioned, one of the things that's concerned a lot of us for a long time, and that's affordable housing. What can CEDRR do? What can Fairhaven do? Who are the groups that we can really work with to see that those rents come down? Or if they stay high, they get some benefits from paying that kind of money. It's a real problem for folks.
It's a desperate need, and we're working with a couple different groups. We have a group in Rutland right now called the Investors Initiative, which is a group of property owners that have duplexes or units with more than one residence.
Yeah.
We're encouraging them to come up with ways to improve those facilities, and we're looking for grants, we're looking for any form of way to give them some money to make things an improvement. What we really need is a developer to come in, and I've talked to Joe off and on, I've called him a couple times and said, do you have property? We've got this company that's coming in, they want 250 units. You probably read about it in the paper, they were gonna put it down by the John Deere dealership, but there wasn't enough land there. And I still think they're on the hook. And I would love to think that we could get some property someplace close to Rutland, which is really where they want to be, unfortunately. But they want to be where the Route 4, Route 7 kind of come together, or close to that. If we could get something like that, then it's a domino effect. Also, we want to work closely with NeighborWorks and with Rutland Housing Trust and the housing authority, because anytime that they can develop properties, that frees up properties in other places that will allow other people to move in. So it's not an easy fix. And I'll bring up another one, which is childcare, which is another not easy fix. It is definitely in our region. I did not answer your question, other than if people
I mean, if
wanna
you
work-
had the answer, you wouldn't be asking for $500, you'd be asking for about 500,000. Because, I mean, that's, you know, I don't know what the easy fix is. I don't think it's an easy fix. It's something that Vermont's been addressing. We have a graying population, and it's really hard to attract young people or workers when we don't have work for them, childcare, those kinds of things that would attract young families. I know kids getting out of college right now, they have huge college debt. And they can't pay rent and college debt and car payments and all those kinds of things. And it's, you know, it's something we really need to address in our communities and in our state.
And unfortunately, we have to do it all at the same time
Yeah.
to make it work.
You know, during a pandemic. Thanks, Lyle.
And I know Joe's been working on like a regional transportation kind of hub with Castleton and other towns of Polteny. I mean, is that something that you and Joe have talked with and can collaborate with? Yeah.
Lyle and his group, and then Ed Bove and his group, I mean, they were instrumental in putting that together, so it's, without them, it wouldn't have happened. Without Lyle, it wouldn't have happened.
But Joe raised his hand really fast and said, we'd love to have that money flow through us.
Yeah,
There will be
yeah. Send it here.
administrative fees.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Jeff, anything else?
Good.
Okay.
Good, thanks for coming, guys.
Well, thank
All right,
you
thank
for
you.
coming and
Yeah.
presenting to us, and we'll get in touch, see where the budget goes, and
We connect often, so.
Joe will,
great.
yeah, Joe will be in touch. Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you all.
Joe, appointments with renters for water shutoffs?
Yep, so, before the town can shut off water to a rental property, they need to meet with renters who are willing to, take on the payment for that water. I don't know if anybody's, do we have somebody?
Yeah,
All right.
from the Methodist Church property, Chelsea got that right across the street.
Yeah.
I had called and spoke to somebody in the town office, I guess it was maybe mid-October. I'm in the process of getting approved for VRAP right now. So they do also cover the utility bills and stuff, so I have a confirmation number if that's something you want to approve, that I have gone through the application process, but right now I'm just waiting for them to get, she said it can take a little while to get approved, so I was kind of hoping that that would be enough to pause this in consideration that I am in the process of doing that. And if not, what my other options are, I guess.
Joe, do you want to go over just some of the account details so that folks know, the board knows what's?
Oh, so I don't, I'm sorry, what's your address?
The Methodist Church
Oh,
property,
good.
right, 18 West Park Place.
18 West Park? I don't know if I had, I tried to prep for who I thought might come in, but,
Gotcha, okay.
I don't
got
have
it,
West
so,
Park.
Yeah.
But VRAP, we can take a look and see if you're in the system. If you are, we will have received that already. If not, I think that program is closed, and there's no more joining.
It's VSHA too for the, so, they said that they would cover water, power, heat, and, back paid rent up
Yep.
to a certain amount, so. Cause I had spoke to somebody in the town office and they thought it was ending the day I talked to them, but it's not. So I have already gone through the over the phone process and everything, I'm just waiting for my landlords to do a couple
Yeah.
details on their website, but like I said, I do have a confirmation number for the application, if that helps you possibly, I brought that with me, but, just, to prove that I'm not just saying I did it, that I actually have spoken with somebody in the process, so. I just know it says I was shut off for tomorrow, I've got a baby, and I'm just definitely not.
So what we've done in the past, and which I actually did today, is if somebody can prove that they have been in the system or that they're approved, that they are approved for the money, We will wait and then talk to the state. Today, though, a young lady came in and she said, I got a confirmation number.
Right.
She missed the deadline, despite the fact that she had this email. What we did to help her out was we put her on a payment plan so that way she could make payments until something was figured out or until her debt was paid off.
Because they did say it can take a couple months possibly for that to get approved, that there's so many Vermonters right now applying for it that it's obviously not something that just happens really quickly. So, I mean, if we want to put a payment plan in effect, and I can do my best to do that, like as backup or something, like I said, I just definitely don't want to be having the water shut off.
Okay. So Joe, what is your recommendation? I mean,
I think a payment plan would be consistent. It's, we're trying to be flexible with the process that VCAP is doing, so that's something we have done.
do you need a motion for the board from that because it's a renter? Is that what the?
It's part of the process, so yeah, I think a motion would be good for it.
And what was the address again, just so we can get it in the motion?
18 West Park Place.
So you need a motion to place that property on a payment plan?
Enter into a payment agreement for past water and sewer bill.
With the
Just to allow Joe.
To start that process.
With the tenant and the.
Yeah. I make a motion to allow the town manager to enter into a payment plan for water and sewer fees for 18 West Park Place.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Rod. Rod, seconded by Jeff. Discussion, Jeff? Go ahead.
Joe, what's the term on that typically?
We try to get
Less
it.
than a year, right?
It is. We try to get them paid off in 6 months, but we'd have to follow the policy, Jeff.
Okay, perfect.
Other questions? Do you have any other questions or?
So come on in 8:30, 9 o'clock tomorrow?
Okay, I'll probably be working, I work at the mansion across the street, so when I'm done serving breakfast, can I pop over?
Yeah,
and
just
then-
make an
okay.
appointment with Joe when you can.
Okay,
Come
yeah,
on.
I work for Greg and Sharon, you know them. So.
All right,
I can pop in over breakfast.
all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Joe, is there anybody else?
Somebody else? No.
Okay. All right, thank you, Joe. 5 minutes for public comment. John?
I'm pleased to see that we have a nice policy against bullying. And what the legislature is going to have for a special session, I anticipate that we all, Selectboard will have the option of creating one, whatever, for the whole town if they want to.
Yep, sounds like that.
We'd like that too.
All right, anything else, John?
No, that's it.
Lorraine?
Well, I have two things.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that you have in your budget money to repair the park fence.
And paint.
And paint, repair and paint. It's got pretty bad this last year. And it won't take another year. If somebody leans on one of those cross rails and gets hurt, it'll be a big liability. And I think Joe has estimates from
Jim Rucker on that?
Yeah. And so the other issue is the IBC, the itty bitty committee.
Yeah.
We have operated for 2 years without any money. Very little bit we put in, submit some things, and Joe gets them for us. If you could just give us a small stipend, that would just help us tremendously. We're getting ready to do the gazebo
Yeah.
for Christmas, and we need lights. So that's the kind of thing we need it for. When we did the stick figures, there was no money involved. We paid for it last year, and this year, people just jump in and do it for us. So please consider it.
How much do you usually, I mean, it's probably not a usual, but
We're pretty, we scrimp and
Yeah.
save.
yeah.
I can't even tell you that. If you gave us $500, we would think we were in Neverland.
Yeah. Okay, but
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sia?
I know it sounds like it's far away, but Fairhaven and the United States of America have birthdays coming up, a 250th birthday. And I met with the Historical Society last night, and they would like to be supportive of any kind of celebration we might hold for either and both of those celebrations.
Yeah.
But I know it sounds far away, but it isn't, and it takes a long time to plan for those kinds of celebrations. And I just wondered if, you know, the select board had thought anything about that, or would be willing to make a subcommittee or to get people started.
I think a committee would be great. Don't know who would want to chair that committee.
So just want to say, the Innovative Committee and the Historical
Yeah.
Society will all.
I'll work
jump in
together.
And we'll,
Yeah.
group up.
But it'd be great to work with, you know, economic development,
Yeah,
because,
all of us.
you know, I mean, if think about it, what is our vision for our 250th year?
Mhm.
You know, a really safe crosswalk over by the laundromat is one thing. You know, there's a couple of things. We talked with Joe about giving this building a facelift, making it, you know,
Yeah.
look great, those kinds of things. So that it doesn't have to just be about sharing the history of our past 250 years, but looking towards the future as well.
all right. It's definitely something we should look at, for sure. Yep. Go ahead.
I'd like to say good evening. I am here on behalf of Fairhaven Taxpayers United, a group of Fairhaven taxpayers who have joined together to closely monitor spending by the Select Board, constrain excessive and needless spending, and to direct the town manager and Select Board to focus their attention, efforts, and spending on older priority projects around town before aspiring to new ventures. There are many existing infrastructure projects throughout the town which many taxpayers have brought to the town's attention, and these have not been addressed nor fixed. The taxpayers are joining together to inform the town manager and Select Board these older projects need to be addressed first, and reserve funds are better spent listening to the needs of taxpayers rather than the wants of the administration. The taxpayer sentiment is to focus on immediate priorities which are being overlooked and cast aside. The purpose of tonight is to present the documents signed by taxpayers to Town Manager Joe Gunter, Chair Chris Cole, and Glenn Travers of the Economic Development Committee, who obviously isn't here this evening. These documents will give notice of the intent of voters which, pursuant to 17 VSA 2642 A3 capital A, will be on the ballot March 1st, 2022. I'd like to read the documents into the record, if I could, please. The first document, which contains the signatures of taxpayers, states as follows. We, the undersigned registered voters of the town of Fairhaven, hereby formally put the town manager, Joseph Gunter, and Select Board Chairperson, Christopher Cole, along with members Jeffrey Sheldon, Glenn Travers, Carol Egan, and Rod Holsworth, on formal notice. We oppose the changes to Park and Ride, the sidewalk changes from the grade school to Liberty Street, and the removal of trees from downtown. We further oppose spending of $100,000 for this purpose. We respectfully request any and all plans, funding, contractor negotiations, studies, grant seeking, or matching for any revitalization purpose hereby cease. To solidify and implement our opposition, it is our intent pursuant to 17 VSA 2642 A3 capital A to submit a petition containing the names of at least 5% of the registered voters in the town of Fairhaven to the town clerk, town manager, and the select board no later than 47 days prior to the town meeting day, 2022, for such warning and placement of an article on the ballot as the law so requires. The second document I'd like to submit is as follows. We, the undersigned voters of the town of Fairhaven, Vermont, hereby formally put the town manager, Joseph Gunter, and select board chairperson, Christopher Cole, along with members Jeffrey Sheldon, Glenn Travers, Carol Egan, and Rod Holsworth on formal notice. We oppose the creation, authorization, and funding for a new position to the Economic Development Committee. Our taxpayer funds need to be spent on priority projects, and a proposed $10,000 budget and a $15,000 to $20,000 paid position is unacceptable. We do not support spending our taxpayer money on this, and as such, we will place an article on the ballot to abolish the Economic Development Committee. To solidify and implement our opposition, it is our intent, pursuant to 17 VSA 2642 A3 capital A, to submit a petition containing the names of at least 5% of the registered voters of the town of Fairhaven to the town clerk, town manager, and the select board no later than 47 days prior to town meeting day, 2022, for such warning and placement of an article on the ballot as the law so requires. Any proposed budget containing funding for the Economic Development Committee shall be opposed. And on behalf of the taxpayers, your copy?
Is that your only copy?
No, I've got many.
Okay.
That's the original. This is chairperson.
Yep, you said
That's your different one?
Yep.
I can give you one. I can give you
Okay,
Glenn's.
fine.
No, I can give you Glenn's, and
No, that's
yeah.
fine.
No, I got it. I got another one.
All right, any other public comment? No? Okay.
I'll give you,
Yep, do you have another copy?
yeah, no, yeah.
Right.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Just
welcome.
one, right?
No, there's two.
Oh, okay, all right.
One's opposing park and ride,
Yep.
and the other one's for the EDC and the sidewalks and taking out the trees. Thank you.
You're welcome. Nobody else, right? You guys are here for the fireworks. Department head report. Aaron, do you wanna go?
On the highway end, been down the transfer station, boys have been down there working on starting to move stuff around, get stuff set up for the solar project that's proposed down there, so we don't run into a contest of who can get space ready faster. As well as that, the mechanic's been finishing up getting winter equipment ready, as well as summer equipment ready to be stored for the winter. We've attended a couple of trainings over the last couple of weeks to help us improve our knowledge on how to keep roads in good shape and repair some bad ones. We're grateful for the so far warm weather.
So far.
The dampness can go away because once it does get cold, it'll result in difference that we don't like. The water end of it, we reviewed the water north and south tank inspection report. Both reports are saying the shapes, the tanks both need some work over the next few years, nothing drastic as of yet. South tank, looks like they wanted to do a cleaning on the bottom of that tank. There's some buildup of stuff at the bottom of the tank that they want to remove just so they can get a good clear picture of the floor. The north tank, as we noted before, is in the exterior of it, needs to be the protective coating on it needs to be redone up. The ROV did find some stalled concrete at the bottom of the floor of the tank, which we're determining they couldn't see exactly, but it is up in from the ceiling area from that water freeze-thaw cycle going on in that roof. So we have an actual company coming out tomorrow to look over the report, as well as they specialize in doing exterior coatings on tanks like that to clean it, repair cracks, and then coat it, with a protective coating that's hopefully a little bit more die-hard than just typical paint. Stuff that we'll be probably looking to try and get, hopefully in the budget, if not, try and find some funds to get that taken care of before we have more issues with that roof, because I imagine replacement is way more expensive than the repairs at this point. You guys have been out busy locating curb stops that we can't find maps, so we know the location has water, but just can't find it in our current book, so they've been out trying to find those ties and get them recorded, so if somebody calls, we can make a quick movement on that. We do have prices later in the agenda for the Adams Street Water Bridge crossing water leak repair. Hopefully we make movement on that tonight, so we can get that taken care of before again the weather goes the wrong way on us. Sewer wastewater side, the sewer main flushing went well. We did a lot of our spots in town that seem to have dramatic or more issues than others, and tried to spend that money so we have some money left for the emergencies this winter that we were hoping to not have. The wastewater plant upgrade itself is still running into the whole equipment, when's it gonna show up. We had our monthly meeting today. It sounded like there was actually a few items that the time moved up on instead of out, like we've been used to. So those are only words, and it's not actually here. So like words saying it sooner than later is better than what we've been getting for a long time now. Still running somewhat short-staffed down there. They're doing the best they can. They've been pretty responsive to our needs and desires, and if we've had issues, they're very quick to remedy them. With the amount of rain we've had over the last few weeks, Adams Street Pump Station still showing its need to get those controls upgraded. Carrie got 3 calls last night, over the night. We've had calls since Saturday when the rain was really still coming down, and last night was the kicker with 3 overnight. So what it is that the control panel is just not responding properly, so the alarms go off and then it does its thing and clears itself most of the time. We've had to go down a couple times to make it work, but it's so far holding its very own. The big holdup on that is that generator that's supposed to be showing up to that got pushed off and keeps getting pushed off. It is supposed to ship this week, and as of yesterday, that ship date has not changed. We've also not got confirmation that it has shipped yet.
Shipped from where?
GenRX facility, I'm not sure where it is.
That's out in the Midwest.
Midwest. But they, so it was supposed to be September and then got pushed to November. They told town manager Gunter it could be Friday that we either find out where it's coming or not coming. But with that, I advised him and started digging in to looking into renting a trailerable portable generator for now, so we can at least get that control panel in. Because it's sitting in storage right now waiting for a generator to be sitting there. Because right now, we put that new control panel in and we have a power failure. We have no way to power that pump station. Right now, that pump station runs off a gas motor inside that the new control panel does not will not connect to that to run it, so it needs the backup generator. Some quick budget numbers on it. I think it's worth our time and money to do that before we have a real issue with this control panel, either cause more damage to the pumps that are in that station, or have a overflow issue, or have to have Dorrance down there trucking continuously to try and keep up with flows. That hopefully by Friday we'll have the answer that generator shipping and that can take a back seat. But we are looking for a workaround for that if it does not ship. I think that's all I have for tonight for you.
Okay. Any questions, Jeff, for Aaron?
All set, thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Anything wrong? Okay, thank you, Aaron. Police chief?
I get to be police chief again. As I think a lot of people knew, we were having a few car break-ins earlier in the month. The police did pick up that suspect. The case is still ongoing, but They did catch the guy that was breaking into the cars. They actually caught him in a car. So, that was great. The police have postponed the food drive again, just because of the increase in COVID. They want to be safe, so that's been put off again. The police, like the rest of the town, they went to a mask policy. Everybody's wearing a mask, trying to keep staff apart. Channel 3 reached out to the PD. WCAX is doing, they interviewed some staff and they're doing a story on 22A up here where we've been having trouble. So I think that comes out Thursday. In the ACO, we've had kind of a lot of barking dog complaints up on Scotch Hill. Our new ACO has been pretty aggressive in handling those. In the police department and the town of Fairhaven, would like to congratulate the Junior Spartans football team on winning their state championship. The fire department, the police and the fire department with Castleton PD did an escort with them when they won. Congratulations to them.
Any questions for the police department? All right, thanks, Joe. Town manager report?
We signed up, so it's that time of year again. We're coming up to Christmas shopping. We signed up with our, what is it? The Main Street America to do a Shop Small program. So we'll be handing out some goodies to our storefronts and helping them advertise for Shop Small this year, trying to generate a little bit of economic development in our area. Something that came up a few weeks ago that just I wanted to kind of circle back on. Grove Street, who we did help find some money to pay for their very excessive water bill, they did drill their well, and they're now disconnected from our system. So that's done and done. We talked about masks. Masks are back and mandatory for being in town hall, so if you come visit us, please wear your mask. We're going to keep this up until the middle of next month, and then we'll reassess. It's uncomfortable, but we all want to be safe. So, and this is one of the best ways we can do that.
Are you gonna, all departments?
All departments,
Including the fire department?
including the fire department.
That was my point.
12 South Main, we did sell that property. That sucker went for the whopping $7,500. We're moving to transfer that property to the new owner.
Is it an owner that's gonna redevelop the
Yes.
property? Yeah.
It sounds like him and his wife, they told me, they said, we want to spend some money and redevelop it, so. Yeah, it's encouraging. It's a home that could use a little bit of love. We did finally close on our revolving loan. This is a project that the EDC and myself have been working on for about 2 years. The town got a grant with the intent of then loaning those grant funds out to our businesses to help them do projects on their properties. Mr. Nelson took that loan for $30,000, and he's putting in a sprinkler system in the playhouse. So hopefully Dave can get that up and running. That'll be a great feather in our cap. And you can't go a long time without talking dog park. That permit is with the state. The state is reviewing it. And that's what I have for you today.
Questions for Joe? All right, thanks, Joe. Old business, fireworks permit. I believe we have a copy in our folder of the latest. Gentlemen are here from fireworks company. And we talked, did you get a final? Do you have a copy, Joe?
I have 2 copies. Mine are different copies, though.
Oh. You can take mine if you want. Just
Is this basically what was on the...
basically what we talked about last.
Okay. I don't have a whole, if you're, that's not something you're asking me.
Yeah, well, let me just have Joe just go through it, any overview he has, and then we'll take questions for sure.
Sure. So last time we talked about a few things, but the big thing I think that was the sticking point was the $5,000 permit fee. That was edited out to be a donation to the town of Fairhaven in the amount of $1,000, and that change was made. I would like, though, to voice an opinion on donation. While it's nice to say donation, and maybe that's tax deductible for those who donate in some way, the town of Fairhaven, we're not a charity organization. We're a group that takes fees for permits. The donation, the word donation makes me uncomfortable. A fee seems more in line with the type of business we're in.
I would agree with you if you're putting it in the permit, as that, donation kind of takes the.
No, we say
Takes the
donation.
donation out of it.
Yeah.
The permit fee, we would agree to that.
We ain't gonna subject the donation, just because that's what we
Because
did.
that's what we do with it.
That's what you've done typically.
Yeah.
Other towns have, volunteer fire permits
Yep.
or whatever, so that made sense.
Yep. Other than that, I mean, take a look.
Other than that, I think there's
it's the
some
same.
things in here that are redundant, that, first, for one, there is no ATF involvement. The fire marshal, generally will come in when we first open, just to look at the place, make sure we have fire extinguishers or whatever.
Yep.
But there is no real permit, from them, other than them saying, yes, we're busy, we're
Yeah.
open. We completely agree to follow all Vermont and federal laws and obligations. Number 7 just talks about the law that everybody already knows. We know what the law is, so to have it in there is just, because also it's a little up in the air with the state, supposedly it's going back in front of them this winter, as soon as they get back in session, that they're gonna reopen it to it being personal responsibility, where I'm the buyer, not on the seller. So, where,
Where it says that we're gonna follow all the guidelines, that would change, because we'd still be following the guidelines.
But they could
Right,
change.
But it's changed from what it is now. that's
but it's,
all.
the way you guys have it written is that, that we would not sell to anyone. We agreed not to sell to anybody in Fairhaven, whether they change the law or not, without a permit. I think that helps cover you guys and, makes the town not blow up, with the excitement of just us being open. But as far as the rest of the state, if they change that law, we would be following state guidelines. So then to have that in here, it wouldn't sound, we'd have to go back in front of you legally, technically, and ask you to take it off. Then, really, we're gonna follow the law the way that the laws are. We're not looking to ask to break the laws. And we're asking, we will add, no matter what the law is, that we won't sell Fairhaven without permit. So I just want to,
Yep.
just makes it clearer or easier for you guys, and for us. That as long as we're following the laws, we don't expect to have a lot of issues.
All right. Other comments on the current draft? Yeah?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Rod, did you have any?
I don't have an issue with what they were just saying. I mean, it's got to be clear, and it's got to survive changes that are out of our control. So, as long as the wording is, survives, that's what I'm. Otherwise, it's just going to be a pain for us to maintain it. So, I mean, Joe, do you have the comments that he just made regarding,
Yeah, I do, and I can
I think they're
get
fairly
something.
minor.
So it's just like 5 and 7. 7 is just stating what, I mean, it's kind of like in the, I don't know why.
It's
you
in the
put it
law.
on- Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the law, and we're gonna follow the law. And number 5 is just kind of saying that again, the way the law stands right now, but if it could easily change this winter, then we have to come again. Where if you just put in, we'll follow all state and federal guidelines, that's covered. And then keep number 4, because that is a pledge of ours, that we will not do that without permit first. And I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just trying to make it easier for everybody, and why I have a bunch of stuff on here that.
Not a problem.
I appreciate,
Are you saying,
Go ahead, Jeff.
are you saying that 15 days is an issuance date of no less than 15 days
No, no.
before the date of sale is state, it's a rule?
To get a permit from anywhere in the state, the way the law is written right now is it's 15 days in advance to get a permit from your town to then light off fireworks.
Yeah.
The way that the Supreme Court of Vermont sees it as right now, you need to have a permit before you buy fireworks. Anybody from Vermont has to have a permit in hand before they purchase fireworks. Out of state is still an open marketplace as far as what we've been told by any lawyer right now. So that's the way that we're gonna run it. If they decide this winter to make it so that it's on the person that buys it to have a firework permit, but they don't need to show it to us, which is the way it was a year ago. They would just be going back to that. People would still be needing 15 days to get, you know what I mean? That has nothing to do with us. That has to do with the fire departments and the lighting them on.
What you were gonna say?
Does that answer your question, Jeff?
Pretty well. I was just wondering if the compromise would be to strike 5 and add the 15 days to number 4. Just.
Well, that is the law. I mean, it's written right in the state law right now.
Yeah, there's no reason we can't be the same or more strict than the state law.
Right,
So,
you guys can do whatever.
yeah.
Joe?
so I do appreciate the desire for brevity, in anything, but this was vetted by legal, and they did say that, yes, this is a solid contract that helps protect the town. Well, I appreciate what you're saying. Our legal team did look at this and say this is good.
Okay. That's fine, and then if they change the law, we'll just come back.
We'd have to change the language in it.
Change our permit.
Guess it's goes against better thinking to go against the lawyers. So we'll just have to, it's gonna be more
We
work.
can adjust after that.
It makes me nervous, Rod.
All right, so,
Or,
go ahead, Jeff.
or we suggest a change and send it back.
We can send it back to legal, yeah.
I mean, honestly, a Pittsburgh permit says follow all, there's 2 things on it. One is to get land use, if there's any issues with the town as far as zoning, and the other one is just to follow all Vermont and federal guidelines and regulations. I mean, and that covers the town of Pittsburgh and has for 6 years. So, again, I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just saying it can be as easy or as difficult as you guys want to make it.
Well, I guess our lawyers are still paid by the word.
Yeah, it must be. Must be. All right, so what am I hearing? Now, Jeff, do you want to move forward tonight with approving as is? Do you want to get other changes together? I mean, it's only the 3 of us, so there's 2 members not here at the moment.
Well, as is the donation is gonna be changed to the permit fee. Yeah, right. That's fairly minor, so.
When did you guys say you needed the permit application by? It was
We would like to be open
Close.
May 1st. We would like to be open May
May
1st.
1st. But we had agreed we were gonna do something towards the end of this year, November-ish.
So,
Sunburst.
in Pittsburgh we are. I'm gonna do a little Christmas special in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
but we didn't plan on doing that
Yeah,
this year, so.
okay. Alright.
I mean, the more time you give us, the more time we have to
Yeah.
get the location set up.
Well, I was just thinking if you're gonna do the permit, to do it for, April. Give us the permit starting in April. That way it'll run to the next April. If you give it to us now, we won't use it until May. It's gonna, 6 months is gonna be gone.
Well, that's
Okay,
kind
so-
of, I guess, what I
I
was
mean, we're
thinking.
just gonna agree to, that this is the standing permit, and when you guys want it,
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Great, thank you.
I mean, another 2 weeks to make a few tweaks is,
yeah, then it's irrelevant, at that point, no one's rushing.
Right, absolutely.
So as long as we stay within the spirit of
Yes.
this, this discussion, then you're not really gonna have an issue.
No.
so Joe's got the feedback, right? I mean, you could run it,
So what I got is strike 7 and 5.
but make sure we're still covered with,
Yeah, the state law, must follow state law. I mean,
take
that's,
them out, but make sure we're still
Yeah,
covered.
let's take this all out, but make sure that we're not sued. Check.
now, I'm not sure that we said to take it out, we just said
Yeah.
that it's too specific, so when they change the law, we're gonna have to come back and change this policy, otherwise the policy will be
Right, otherwise you.
Wrong.
Right.
okay. So if you make the like 5, which is I think what we were focusing on, more generalized to state law reference, then that's it.
Because, to be honest with the way it's worded, also, there are some towns that do not have the fire chief or a police chief. They have the fire, what do they call that? Warden, or whatever,
Somebody
or
else, yeah.
It's
Well,
somebody in the
yeah,
town
but-
office, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, it
But
really
we're-
is not, if we're following the law, I mean, you don't need to say, and you need to follow the law. Specifically like this and have, where it was a fire chief or select board of the municipality. Each town has, some towns are very, very strict. Some towns are, you go in and they'll sign it that day, even though it's supposed to be a 15-day. Depends on the town. DMV will just, they signed them for people the same day that they've asked. So I'm just saying, Mendon, for instance, just has a fire warden. They're not a
Signs them.
select board thing, so it's really, it's just being specific, kind of overly where it's not. I wish it was the same all the way across the street. Everybody had the same kind of permit and it's written that way, but each town,
Speaking a little bit.
yeah, does their own thing. So, not that this isn't, just makes it more complex, is all I'm saying. When we're gonna follow the law, we're not asking to break the law. And number 4 covers the town. So, just to add that again, it just seems, and number 7 is just right in the law of when you read it, so it's just.
Jeff, any other feedback? I mean, I think in general we're in agreement, it's just tweaking the,
Yeah, we are.
And even if you said, no, this is exactly the way it is, we want to be a business with you guys,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, if the lawyers come back and say, no, we shouldn't make any change at all, then I don't think any of these were totally egregious, it's just, we don't wanna keep coming back and revisiting this again and again.
Joe?
If I could offer a suggestion, instead of every couple of weeks me going to my typewriter and typing this up and bringing it back and then the gentleman saying, that's dumb, let's do something different. Would it be okay if I sent this to them so they can make their edits that they want? Send it back to me, run it past the lawyer. Because this is like my 3rd shot at this and it keeps getting edited, so it would be nice if I could just.
Yeah, and to be honest, Joe, I would come in, I would ask or whatever, but that's easy.
I'm fine if you work out the thing and bring it back, it's fine.
Yeah, it just seems like I'm just throwing stuff at the wall
No,
on
that's
it, so. It would be nice to put it to bed. So, yeah, I will send you something, you guys can make your edits and then shoot it back to me.
Awesome, thank
Cool.
you.
Jeff, are you good with that?
Yep,
Okay.
I mean, unless they do something crazy.
Well.
Yeah.
I'll run the new version past the
I know what we're
lawyer.
gonna do.
Yeah.
All right, so we're closer. We'll get a, hopefully, next couple of weeks, we can get a.
We got time, and I think we've got general consensus.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Appropriation policy, the next item. I know Joe presented the current one on the books, right?
Yep, so the
And then
current,
new one.
if the current policy, you should have the current policy as well as the, proposed policy. I did make, a few changes, under applicability. Under the new policy, I added the Fairhaven Free Library, and the Chamber of Economic Development of the Rutland Region, CEDRR, who they're like Rutland Regional, they're doing things for us. And then on the back side, on page 2, I removed the postmarked, in the middle of the paragraph there, second paragraph. I removed postmarked and put 38 days, for the timeline.
Gotcha.
Postmarked I pulled out because if we get something postmarked, say, on that 38th day, we have
Still have to have it.
we have to get things to the printer, and we have to get things,
Yep,
you know,
that makes
processed
sense.
for a deadline. So postmark would cause trouble.
So where is this?
Right in the back, strike it. Where it says postmarked,
Oh,
no
okay,
later
yeah,
than.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
no later than 38 days.
So, can I give you my input?
Of course.
Last paragraph, second page.
Mhm.
First of all, this is a request for previous money, or future monies. That's what this is caring for. But you're asking for how these monies were spent in the past.
Yes. We have to submit.
Well, not these monies cannot be spent yesterday. They can't even be spent till tomorrow. Okay, so I'm not sure, and I think, I get what you're saying, when you're asking for a, what was the word, balance sheet. But, I'm not sure a balance sheet is what we want to see. You know, balance sheets can be pretty long and complicated, and to put that on, you know, we would have to digest the balance sheet and put on, you know, in our annual report, you know, the applicable stuff. So I don't know. I think we just have to ask them how the monies were directly or indirectly benefiting the taxpayers of Fairhaven. You know, something
Keep
to
it
those.
general like that.
Yeah, general. And then the last sentence, I know what you were trying to say, but you basically said, we're gonna pay your requested appropriation 4 times a year, instead of paying it quarterly, in 4 equal quarterly payments. It's just,
In quarterly payments?
in 4 equal quarterly payments, you're on 4 payments, but what you said was we're gonna pay your fee, your request 4 times.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say, I got my, yeah.
so it's the English language, that's all.
Sure.
Okay.
So for the first edit, how was, for what's to be sent for the report, I have, how was the appropriation directly or indirectly?
Benefiting
Benefiting.
Fairhaven taxpayers.
Beneficial to the town of Fairhaven.
benefiting-
Rather than the balance sheet, because I mean, I've seen balance sheets and they can be complicated and they really don't tell the layperson anything.
And I guess it doesn't get to the point of how is it spent here?
Yeah.
Because you could get a
That's right.
balance sheet for an organization and it doesn't give you the aggregate.
I mean, this letter from the bus. The second page really gets to the gist of what we're trying to get across to the voters. That kind of information,
2,300 lines.
yeah.
Jeff, anything from your end on feedback?
I think that sounds good. I didn't have any significant changes.
Okay.
And I didn't catch that at the bottom either, so that's good.
So do we want to approve it with the changes? So that folks can start or not start the collection of signatures depending on, or do you want to?
Well, I know Glenn would probably, because he was pushing it.
Yep.
I don't know if Carol's got any comments. But
Either reach out, you know? Did either of them reach out to you with any?
No, but I did talk to Glenn before, and I asked him if he had any concerns about moving forward with, like, this and fireworks, and he said no.
okay.
Carol, I didn't ask Carol Egan.
I mean, I think it's just maybe a better version of what we had before.
Yep.
I'm still not happy with some of the ones that snuck on last year, getting a buy-in.
Yep.
But is there anything? And I didn't read it in here, but if an organization that provided that got approved last year, if they don't, it's kind of subjective, not clear, but if we got a letter like this, but it was, here, please just give us our money, and it doesn't have any of the supporting documents, can we say, no, you didn't give us what we asked for?
I actually sent some draft language to VLCT requesting that to be reviewed, and they told me, and I
Can't do that.
No, I asked last on the 10th if they could review that. They didn't get back to me until today saying, no, we can't review this. So I would like something like that, but it would have to go to the lawyer to make sure it was kosher.
So the problem is that makes it very subjective is that you really open yourself up with, up to, well, you didn't request that of that organization, and,
The most you could probably do is require a 5% petition. If they didn't provide documents, like the bus is asking just to be put back on the list.
yeah, right.
But
But
if they didn't provide-
I got it that if they requested, like the
Yeah.
bus,
Yep.
and they still didn't give that second sheet,
Yep.
I mean,
That they
it
can
says
move
that
forward. Correct.
all applicants have to provide that, in this
Yes.
case, the second sheet.
Yep. But if they didn't, could you say, no, you're gonna have to go get your 5% petition or provide what was
Okay,
requested?
what if they are right up against the deadline?
Yeah.
Then they miss they miss the whole application process.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get in a bind where we could possibly be seen as leaning one way or the other. So I guess maybe the way to do that is to buy them some more time, move the deadline up a little bit, so that it gives, we could say, no, you did not provide, so you either provide or you get a petition, okay, and gives them some time to recoup. But we're giving this is the final. That's the only thing that was going through my mind, is to push it up a little bit, to give a little bit of a buffer. No buffer is going to be good enough. If they wait until the last second, then they're not going to, get the petition and all that kind of stuff. But you know, we gotta, I'm thinking that we at least have to try.
Yeah, so, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, so exactly what do you think this is asking for, Rod? Just give me an example. So I'm submitting a petition for my organization.
Well, the petition is not as important as the non-petition. Because the petition, we have to accept the petition.
All my supporting document that you want, is that for next, is it a projection of next fiscal year, or is it?
No,
What if-
can I read this?
Yeah.
What if I didn't do anything in Fairhaven last year?
Okay.
I have it
No.
in front of me.
You have the bus one in front of you?
Oh, the bus.
Yeah, we got a letter from
we
the
got a
bus
letter,
already.
okay. First of all, the ones that didn't ask last year have to do a petition. And if they do a petition, they don't have to provide any real documentation because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about the folks who got money last year. They are not asking for more money, you know, so on and so forth. What the bus sent us, as an example, is there's a second letter that was attached to the actual request. This is the second piece. The Marble Valley Regional Transit District, known as the bus, is in its 45th year of providing service to the residents of the greater Rutland area. The bus is the largest non-urban public transportation system in the state of Vermont and provides transportation to the general public throughout the Rutland County, as well as to social and human service agencies, the resort communities, and area businesses. MVRTD provides an enhanced level of self-sufficiency for the elderly, disabled, and transportation disadvantaged who rely on public transportation. System ridership was over 330,700 rides this past year. MVRTD provides 65 jobs year-round with upwards to 85 during the winter peak season. MVRTD provided over 2,300 rides to Fairhaven on the Fairhaven route, a commuter service that stops at the Shaw's Shopping Center, Fairhaven Park, Skyline Corporation, and Stewart's Shop. Other highly successful commuter routes operated by MVRTD, both within Rutland County and beyond, provide connections to 3 adjoining counties, thus serving the growing population committed to the environmental benefits of public transit use, as well as savings realized in the cost of fuel. MVRTD has provided service under the elderly and disabled program to Fairhaven for many years. Those are all examples of direct and indirect benefits to the Fairhaven. I would say this is a great example of what they should provide. If they don't provide this kind of information, my question is, what is our alternative? Do we shut them down? Does it say, no, you got to get it, you either provide the information or get a petition? You see what I'm saying now?
And who's going to make the decision, and what's the?
Well, that's
Not subjective.
right. That's the problem, or the position we're in. So, to make it less subjective, I think we got to buy a couple weeks so that we can get at least one meeting in, and not put it on Joe, but to have a meeting of the minds and say, okay, let's tell them they're not meeting their criteria, or are they? They may be meeting the criteria. But we got to give them some time to react, rather than they procrastinated, and the answer is no because you didn't provide and you're out of time.
And that'll require an adjustment of these time.
Yeah,
time
it's
frames.
just the adjustment of the time, rather than get involved in the subjective. It's hard. It's really hard to nail down the requirement.
Because the signatures are required 47 days prior, right? So
Yep.
Petition's 47 days. So you'd want a letter in supporting documentation from prior folks, at least something more than 47 days.
You're gonna need 3 weeks before that so we can guarantee a meeting, right?
Something along those lines.
Yeah, so if they don't want, or they might refuse to provide it, and then they'll have to
Get
get a petition.
Petition, yeah. You look perplexed, Joe.
He's just
Well,
counting
I
hours.
keep my yearly calendar, I'm just
Okay.
kind of counting it back, see what it looked like.
Yeah.
That, oh, yeah, that would make,
When does it put you back to if you did?
it puts me back to early January for requests.
Okay. Is that really shouldn't be an issue on our part.
54 days gives, it's a week from the 47-day deadline, so
Yeah.
it's like, get your stuff in a week in advance. If we don't approve it, then you got the next week to get your signatures. Does that make sense?
Well, will we necessarily have a meeting fast enough to
Right.
give them a week to work?
I want to build in some kind of,
Uh,
a little bit of buffer there.
And then, of course, they have to have time to do a
Weeks.
petition.
So if it's a written policy, are we saying the written policy is gonna be subjected and then the Board of Selectmen are gonna adjudicate that? Or are we saying this is a policy and what we're gonna follow? Because if we have a policy that says these are your criteria, then that would be at the clerk and manager level. If we're saying the board is gonna do it, then we should build in
If you're,
I would just,
if you're comfortable saying this does not meet requirements and then communicating back to them, that's fine.
I would leave it to the town manager and town clerk to,
That's fine.
We would just have to do like you said, and make sure it's not too subjective.
Right,
Yeah.
right. We just don't wanna,
We need some,
basic information
we need
on.
to have some requirements.
Correct. Celia, you had your hand.
Eileen's new,
Yeah.
and she did not know about the process.
Yeah.
So I wrote her and said, I'm sort of looking for my letter that says, what's my deadline for the year?
Yeah.
And it's usually in October that we get that letter. So social service agencies begin that whole process in October. Maybe even earlier, depending on when they do their budgetary things. So my question is, having written these reports for many years, I'll just throw out an example. We get money from the town, but it's not on a petition. It's the Castleton concerts in the park. The town gives us $7,500, so we say, this is how we spent that $7,500. We paid for bands, or we paid for a sound system, or we paid for a porta potty. And we're pretty explicit about how we spent the money. For a different organization, we have, I'll just use the Caston Community Center because Joanne was here last month. We serve a lot of towns. Our budget at Caston Community Center is in the $200,000 a year range. Fairhaven gives $7,500. So, but we talk specifically about, we could put our budget in there and how we spend that $7,500. I think Joanne leans more towards, this is how many rides we gave to Fairhaven residents. This is how many meals we delivered to Fairhaven residents. These are the kinds of services, the number of Fairhaven residents that take part in phone builders or Better Balance. So, I guess sometimes it's just difficult as a social service agency to really understand specifically what you're looking for.
And I think personally, that's what Rod and I are looking for. I mean,
Right.
a big budget of 200, we're a small piece of the pie, but how are you directly, not financially, but
yeah.
benefiting?
But in terms of the $7,500, which is our pretty
Yeah.
much total budget, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
it's easy to say how we
Correct.
spent that kind of money.
Yep.
Where it's such a small piece, we like to be open and honest and still submit those expenditures, you know, and how we spend our money. But, you know, other organizations as well, you know, we have huge budgets of which, for like Marble Valley, we're a drop in the bucket in terms of their broader expense.
Well, how they describe their services is kind of perfect and exactly what I
So it
think.
doesn't matter, because I know that in the past, you know, they've always asked for a budget as well as a narrative, and for several organizations, we've always done that, so.
Well, but giving the budget, I mean, we're not gonna put that in the report. Yeah, I think it's more meaningful to just tell us how, just like the bus and like Seal just mentioned, you know, how do you directly or indirectly benefit the taxpayers?
And most social service organizations now, that is so important for getting grants and other things, that we keep a lot of that kind of data about
I would imagine.
the population we serve. And
So does that give you some ideas on how to tweak it for the next?
I'll draft some things up. I'll kick it over to our lawyer, so that way they can review and make sure will stand, you know, up in court just in case. And then I'll bring it back in 2 weeks.
I would just, you know, be very aware of the subjective stuff and how one organization could claim, you know, unfair treatment. And we just have to be aware of that. And try not to do it.
in the meantime, do we have to still keep getting signatures, or would you?
The current draft that is in there does not require prior year approved appropriations if there's not an increase to have. You would just need to submit a letter.
And that is not part of the discussions. It's just, we're doing the cleanup work.
Okay. So, if we,
Yeah, you're fairly safe.
I'm Community Center, and I'm only still asking for $7,500.
As long as you put a letter for a request, and then provide how you've.
Do we have to do the same petition language?
Yes.
I think so, yes.
I think so.
If you're doing if you're required.
I would assume so, in terms of,
Yes.
if it's the law, to request that with a letter,
Yep.
that we're not increasing, and then
Yep.
we submit one for the town report.
Because Suzanne will need that for the ballot. But I don't think there's any discussion here about changing if you had a prior year approval with no increase, that you should just need a letter.
Okay.
It's just tweaking, I think, if I understand it right, Joe, you're presenting a letter, but you don't provide documentation on it, we may require you to do a petition. If Joe doesn't feel it meets the threshold of
Well,
what.
some of us were waiting to find out if we had to get
Yeah,
the signatures, because we
Right.
turned it in all together.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you were on the ballot last year, at this point, I don't see a need for at least the three of us, Jeff, right?
Yes.
Right.
So I have been still telling people that the policy was not in place, so they should not get signatures. But from this point on, if I get a call, like the bus is gonna call me tomorrow, I can tell the bus, as long as you're staying where you're at, then the policy will be in place where you don't need signatures.
Yeah, I know Glenn was very in favor of
He
that.
was.
I don't know about
I
Carol
think Carol was
specifically.
too, so.
All right, that's what I'll start letting
I think
folks
we're
know.
fine on that level, it's just tweaking yeah.
I would go as far as to say, as long as, could we say that tonight so people are clear and know that if you had an appropriation last year and you're not increasing, no petition, but if you do increase, you still need to do a petition? Or are we not?
Yep, as long as you provide the required documentation of how you spent the money in the town of Fairhaven. Yep, I think that's the consensus of the board, and we'll just tweak the rest as we move forward, and hopefully.
Yeah,
we'll be
I
good
would
to
think
go.
next meeting, I mean, I think these are fairly minor changes.
All right, Jeff, are you good with that?
I am, yeah.
All right, Cecile, I think you're all set. We'll just formalize it hopefully in 2 weeks and get that new policy approved.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks, Jill.
I will share with others.
Yep. Aaron, the Adams Street water line repair bids.
We had Jason Booth from Alders and Elliott drum up a RFP showing what the work we believe is necessary to fix the leak. From what Jason and myself, I agree with a couple of people that have been down to see, it looks like what has happened is where the water line crosses the bridge, when they poured that abutment in place, it's kind of tied into this network of the bridge structure itself. The movement of the bridge versus what the water line has is cracked and moved some of that concrete. We believe that's where that leak's coming from, is it's flexed the joint a little bit past its deflection level and started to let it leak. Did talk to Casella Construction and Belden Construction, and we received prices back from both of them to remove all the concrete, fix the joint, or replace the joint, insulate the pipe, and then restore that abutment back in place. Both companies are estimating around 5 days to do the work. Casella's price is $22,121.42. And Belden's proposal price is $20,281.81. The biggest difference between the two is going to be in timeline. Casella's has stated will be available the first week of December to do this work. Belden is looking at the middle of December before they would be available to do the work. The recommendation I would have is to move forward with Casella Construction with the price not being that difference between the two, but being able to get that project done sooner than later.
So we're talking about a week?
Possibly 2 weeks.
Okay, and is it how big is this leak? Is it?
We can't determine 100% because it's buried in the concrete. From what we can see, it's not horrible, but it's enough that I'd rather get it done sooner than later so we don't run into having more freeze-thaw cycles on it and or doing the work in worse weather than what it's at.
Aaron, can you give me the numbers again? I was looking at the wrong bid
Sorry.
sheet, and you were saying 20, and I was looking at 583. I was on the other one.
$22,121.42 is Casella's. Belden is $20,281.81.
Okay.
Those are flat prices bid on the job, right? So if it takes longer than 5 days, still the same price.
Lump sum, both of them, yep.
Are there any exclusions or exclusionary language?
The exclusions, Belden has exclusions for any temporary water possibilities, fees, permits, engineering costs, contaminated materials, additional pipe supports. The only exclusions for Casella's, hydrostatic testing and back T testing, which Belden is not showing they would do that as well. And Casella is assuming the line can be isolated and turned off during the repair, which is correct. And then the price is assumed the bridge can be shut down and traffic control is not needed for duration.
We can probably shut it down, so
Yeah,
we're good there.
we've shut it down already in anticipation.
But the recommendation would be to go with Casella's and to use capital improvement funds to fund this, as this chunk of money is way beyond what the budget can support for the repair. Oddly enough, I believe it was right in the realm of 1999 or so, the same, almost identical work was needed, or was performed on the north abutment, the same thing. And it was in the realm of, I think, $18,000 and $19,000 back then, so.
Did I miss where the capital funds are coming from? Which account?
That would be out of the water capital funds, Jeff.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, other thoughts, questions?
And I heard correctly that there was less restrictions, and exclusions from the Casella bid,
Yes.
or are they about the same?
They probably fall in the same realm. They list less of them, so I hope that my feeling with them is that they're a little more confident in what they're gonna be doing and getting the work done versus if we run into this, it's not, it's not gonna be our ball of wax anymore, I think.
All right,
I personally think we should go for Belden. 2 weeks is not, a week to 2 weeks is not, it's been going on for months now. And, I think $2,000 is $2,000 for 1 to 2 weeks. I mean, if it was 1 to 2 months, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
all right.
there's so much warmth in the ground right now. I guess that could change, but you're talking about 3 weeks from now. About
Mid-December, you said, for building?
early December versus mid-December.
Casella said it is the first week. Belden's is written as middle of December. No specific timeline as to what the middle is.
Okay, Jeff, thoughts on that?
It's kind of a toss-up. I traditionally like the low bid, and we've had good luck with Belton in the past, correct?
What jobs have they worked on for us?
They've done a few of the last water project in town. My
We
professional.
haven't had any real problems, right? Very professional, good work in the end.
We're getting a lot of sideline looks from Aaron.
Okay, all right.
You can't see that, Jeff, though, from where you're at.
No, I cannot.
I wish not to speak ill of anyone.
Yeah.
However, on a professional level, I would like to see Casella's. So I believe they can bring more to the table if for some reason we dig in past what we believe we're digging into. I believe they have the scope to back it up really quick and not leave us high and dry.
Well, if there's a problem, we're not be high and dry.
No,
Might be
we
wet.
might not be.
All right,
I'll make a motion.
Thanks,
I'll make
Jeff.
a motion to accept the Casella bid on Aaron's recommendation.
all right, is there a second?
And that's a not to exceed 22,121.42.
Okay,
From the water capital improvement fund?
Yeah, it must be you didn't hear me say that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you, Jeff, you cut out, I think. All right, is there a second? Or not?
Grudgingly a second.
Okay, all right. Further questions on the motion? So we have motion by Jeff, seconded reluctantly by
Very reluctantly.
Rod.
Grudging.
Grudgingly, yes.
Other questions? Anything else, Aaron, that you would have?
Go off without a hitch and don't want to credit us for some reason. I'll find it's $2,000.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
The toss in there, sorry, it might come off the agenda the wrong way.
Yeah.
But I know with all the infrastructure stuff that's coming up, Joe and I have talked a little bit, but with that capital improvement fund, looking to talk to the board about trying to use some of that money to maybe actually get a plan together for at the water plant itself. I know I've brought up a couple of issues that are up there, one of them being the intake tunnel, as well as some electrical issues, stuff that's getting older, coming up with or getting an engineering firm in to try and help us draw up a plan of what we need to do to update stuff up there. And hopefully, Joe and I have talked to have this more of a shovel-ready, so if money comes out, we're not standing here looking, oh, what are we gonna spend it on? It's no, this is what we need to get done, and you guys are gonna fund it, thank you. So just put that out there and see.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's more money other than ARPA coming as well for infrastructure, so.
The problem is, we gotta be very tactical on how we do this, because that's how engineering studies also get done, we get paid for, and then they sit on the shelf to the point where they are no longer viable. So, I don't have a problem with your request, but let's not just throw a bunch of effort out there. Let's pick our top priorities and focus on them.
The 2015 hydraulic study that was done before this last water project on 2017, with that study, we were able to get that project completed. And in discussion with Joe, the next step is the water main on Main Street Hill, Prospect Street. And that's part of that study, and that's where that information goes. We want to get that done and plan that out before the class 1 paving comes through there, so that we're capitalizing on not putting a new road in and then, 2 years later, oh, by the way, this plan said you should have done that already. And let's cut up with a new road, so.
Yeah.
Does any of this money cover engineering costs, or is it strictly projects?
This is.
Or is it? It will.
I have not heard anything from.
Like the ARPA money or the new infrastructure money that was just passed, is that going to include?
Well, if the money's already spent, I doubt that it would include it.
I think you're gonna see priority towards shovel ready, but that's just
Yeah, so which means that you're gonna have to spend the money in
Upfront to get it,
upfront, That's why I'm saying, let's not do this, because we're talking about you're talking about detailed engineering.
My thought would be to have them come through the same as what they did with the wastewater plant years ago, is went through and studied it to see, lay out the priority and what the estimate possibility would be to do those things. And then have us sit here and be able to say, let's point the details to here, and then let's fund that and go.
Well, and maybe we can, if we take a scope and just ask them to Chinese menu it, so that we can accommodate many different scenarios of possible monies.
Best bang for the buck.
So that, best bang for the buck. But let's not bite off so much that we waste money.
Well, let's see what some of the specifics are around that funding, how it's coming to the state and to the local municipalities.
So I reached out to VLCT, and they seem to think that that 2.2 billion coming to the state for infrastructure will be grant. Be distributed through grants. I'm sorry?
It's all coming to Fairhaven?
I keep asking, they won't send me the check.
That's what I was reading too, it's gonna be grant.
Yeah.
Grant allocation,
I heard it's supposed to be grants.
So to Aaron's point, and I'm gonna kind of pile on to what he said. If we really wanted to take advantage of this next 5 years of infrastructure money, which, I mean, it's once in a generation kind of thing, we would need to get plans drawn up, get things ready and in place, and it might take a little bit of cash up front. The town garage, what comes to mind for me is the bridge, the Adam Street Bridge and the town garage, which seem to be things that have been sitting out there for decades that just, they're just too expensive for a town to build, so maybe if we throw some money at it, we can get some grant funds for it.
we don't have a plan for the water plant. There's no upgrade when we did any of the other hydrological study.
I have to dig a little bit. When I was talking with Jason Booth, 2015 I know was the hydraulic analysis of the distribution system. I want to say it sounded like in the early 2000s there might have been a study like Rod saying that got done and then just got put somewhere. he was gonna dig on his end too to see where that was. I think the bigger portion of that was the state trying to push a third filter bed up there. And they did a study to show that the filter bed system could do the flow we needed. So I'm not sure if it touched on what upgrades would be necessary to keep the plant.
Seems to me we did, doesn't it seem like, Jeff, that we did,
It does.
More of an event, yeah.
Tom was in front of us and we talked about, specific things at the plant that had to be upgraded. Now, some of them were upgraded, like the telemetry and stuff like that. But, and some of it he did himself.
I remember that, I just don't know.
I don't remember all the detail, but I
Detail
do
it was.
remember that conversation.
Was that sanitary survey versus engineering?
Maybe.
It could be, I don't know.
When the sanitary survey came through, they said new turbidimeters and as well as self-paced telemetry, so we actually had a true level reading up there, and those were completed, but I'll dig more to see if there is something that we can dust off and say, look, this is still good.
Yep.
Or let's get in contact with some people.
Yep.
Come before you guys would.
Okay. And that conversation kind of leads into the next two anyways, the salt shed bids. I mean, just the general. Joe, if you want to just give the general kind of overview of the salt shed bids, the cost is just more than we can.
Yep, so there's a contract negotiation going on with that particular project. Yeah, but bids did come in pretty high. And we're working with the funders, to see what we can do about cash, as well as the contractors.
I have one question about that.
Yeah.
Is that for two salt sheds?
No. Half of one probably.
Yeah.
All right, and that leads you to the ARPA funds continued discussion, which we kind of had some of. I don't know if you had anything specific, Joe. I know you had.
No, I nothing specific, but in particular for the funds. But to get the ball rolling, I was hoping that the board would approve a committee or some type of body to start actively working on which projects the town. As one of our residents said, what does the town want to spend their money on? So I was looking for approval to start that process and get something rolling.
Do you think you're going to want to do a committee?
That's
Structure, or?
Yeah, well, that's what VLCT is saying. Get a group of residents together and then have them start talking to other residents to kind of get the ball rolling. Although, if you have better ideas, if there's if there's something better, would be.
I don't know.
I guess, I just think about the folks in zoning. They have, they look at the town, the total infrastructure, and they have an idea, a better idea than I have, of the available development areas and where we should be building to take better advantage of that development, the possible development. I'd like to see, not that we can force any of the zoning folks, zoning board members, but I'd like to encourage at least one of those folks to be on the committee, because I think they can bring a lot of discussion point. Because I'd hate to think that we're going to go through and just appease the birthday wishes of a few, and get the biggest bang for the buck. And I was trying to figure out who has the best finger on the pulse.
So maybe it's folks from the committees we have. Maybe it's a rec member and a
couple of
commission
folks
member
in
and
the committees that we already have, and then also some residents that want
residents and maybe
EC members,
an employee maybe that's.
Yeah. maybe what we can do is, talk about how big should the committee be? Because the bigger the committee is, it's harder to get things done.
Jeff, you have any thoughts, or is this just the committee of the town manager that Joe organizes? Not that he wants to, but.
I'm fine with Joe organizing a committee from our other subcommittees. I mean, if we got one person out of most of our other groups, we'd have a
Pretty good group of
nice
people.
representation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm not opposed to community, I think we should have community members on that as well.
Right.
Well, the committee members are community members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the more, I don't want it to be unwieldy, but I also think that
Yeah.
at that point, the more the merrier, because all you're trying to do is get a lot of ideas to start,
Yeah.
Right,
and then pare them down
yes.
from there. With the intent that it's gonna come back to the select board for final approval, right?
Yes. But I would encourage that the select board see all, not just, these are the ones we want to present to select board.
Yeah.
These are all, and then, maybe, some
These are the
prioritization.
top 10.
Right, but we want to see them all.
These are the 50 things we came up with.
Right.
Is that kind of what you were
Okay.
thinking, Joe? Kind of some structure like that?
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'll reach out to some
And then
folks and see if we
I-
can get it rolling.
The only other thing I'd caution, and it's pretty early in the process, but try to steer clear of things that require annual cost to maintain.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because
Well,
that could really blow your budget in the future if you do $1 million project that.
anything you do requires maintenance cost, but keep that to a dull roar.
You want new infrastructure, but not new services per se.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, unless that's what other people want.
True. I mean, we'd have to hear.
Yeah,
That's one opinion. That's
Yep.
all I'm throwing out.
Yep.
Is that don't dig yourself into a hole that you can't maintain. That's all.
Does that sound good, Joe? I mean, that sounds like a.
That's perfect. I'll reach out to some folks and we'll bring back a report in a couple weeks.
New business. We've got the grant and aid equipment grant match request. I believe that was Aaron, right?
It is.
The MRGP grant equipment, what we're looking for is for the board to approve signing a letter of intent for us to be possible for awarding of a grant to purchase. We're going to be asking for the tow-behind leaf debris blower. The grant will pay up to $5,600 of that purchase. The budgetary numbers I pulled on that are between $8,500 and $9,000. So the match would be at most around $3,400. The debris leaf blower, the tow behind, that has a wireless remote control. So what you can do is decide, so it would be for like blowing off sides of roads, ditches and stuff, for maintenance of our stone line ditches. Fall grading, if the leaves are already starting to come down, we can blow the shoulders off. So we're not trying to scrape the leaves off and ending up with what we had, I believe it was last year up on Inman Pond Road, where now we have to go back the next couple days with the excavator and scoop up all the leaves and stuff that mixed up on the side of the road. Other uses that will definitely be beneficial to the town would be down at the cemetery, Cedar Grove, as well as here in the park, where we could get those leaves into one big area down at Cedar Grove, but probably would be just pretty much blowing them all the way across sections into the woods back where they belong. The funding that is paying for this is the second round, and I believe it's going to be the last year. They're funding this equipment grant. So what they'll pay, the $5,600, is money that, they've paid for, as well as all the, like the MRGP grants and aid program that we've been part of for the last few years, is them helping us to improve the stormwater and roadway resiliency. And we've gotten a lot of good money out of this program, so I don't don't see we'll be seeing any detriment in spending a little bit of our own money back towards the purchase of this equipment. It will only benefit us in the long run to maintain our stone line ditches instead of having to dig them out every couple of years because they're full of reeds and everything else.
Questions, Rob?
Yeah. I'm more than just a little concerned having that kind of machinery, like in the, in the stone line ditches is one thing, but using it in the park or cemetery, you're talking a lot about a large volume of air. And if there's someone that's walking around that you're just, they're in the peripheral vision, you don't see them, and all of a sudden they get pelted by stones or debris. I would think that I know what you're saying about the stone line ditches, and a blower is probably the best thing to do. However, if you got a house nearby, I think it just opens us up for possible litigation. In the parks, I would think a vacuum, debris vacuum, reverse the flow of air, and at least that's the vacuum. You don't have flying debris. I'm apprehensive about a big commercial blower that can, really can do damage and result in litigation. You don't have enough eyes. The operator just cannot be fully aware of, 100% of the time. I mean, he can be very observant, but there's stuff happens. That's my concern.
So to that, I don't think the thought is we're just gonna run out there and just wide open and just tear around without actually feeling out what this thing's capable of and learning how well it works and where it doesn't. Because we do that every day with all the other equipment we have. We can't learn by not trying. I'm not saying we're gonna go up and try and blow some windows out of someone's house, but I think it's a very beneficial piece of equipment that when we learn exactly how best to use it, you're gonna see the benefit versus what risk we do pose.
What other types of equipment can you?
The only other one that I'm really interested in there would be a plate compactor, or a jumping jack compactor, that they're matching up to, I don't have the letter in front of me, I think it's.
But there's a match on that one as well.
So it's 80% of that one too. It's not nearly as much money. We have one. What we'd be trying to do is maybe get another one to speed up the recovery process of coming back up, filling a hole in it, so we can have two guys on a jumping jack doing compaction instead of one guy trying to beat around the bush. That one, their max award is $3,200. And $800 a bar, so it's only $4,000 versus the $7,000 that they'll award towards the leaf blower. $5,600 being theirs, $1,400. So the budget numbers I pulled are a little bit more than that, of course, with today's stuff. All the people that I've heard that have them and are using them are very, very happy with them. They work very well. The one we're looking to do would be trailerable as well as I'm going to have it set up so it can go on forks, with either the skid steer or the loader, so that way it's, the rod's wishes would be out in front of the driver instead of behind them, so now you're way more aware of where that is.
I like that better than a trailerable.
Yeah.
You cannot look behind you and in front of you at the same time
Yeah.
without something happening.
Jeff?
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
I've seen
Okay.
I've seen you on 22 before.
Yeah, right.
Is that, I don't know the weight, like the loader, worries me the loader in the cemetery, so the skid steer can get around with it fine.
So down there would fall back to being towable because even the skid steer doesn't fit around those stones like it would probably want to be. I'm not looking to, have it on the loader and blow from one roadway over to the next. Would be keeping it calm and, maybe between 2 or 3 rows at a time versus, full force blowing it across the whole cemetery. It would just be, something where they could actually manage it and get or between rows and stuff like that.
Okay.
Road applications is where I see it usually. If we can't figure out a good way to tow it around, would be the ditches would be on the front of a loader or the skid steer or something like that.
Okay. Other thoughts? I mean, Jeff?
That's $3,400 and it's coming out of the equipment reserve.
Yes, please.
And
No
how does
more.
that fit with the capital budget you just gave us a minute ago? Like last week?
Change at the bottom of the jar. That would be.
Say that again?
Change at the bottom of the jar. That would be. So in my professional opinion, anything that's less than $5,000 or a piece that is not shown a life expectancy would be something that would be procured as needed basis versus making sure it's written out into the full life cycle plan.
Well, I guess if that's the case, then we should have a line that anticipates some sort of purchases under $5,000. Because I guess what I'm saying is you accounted for what was in there in your capital budget and then some. So I'm kind of wondering where the $3,400 is and what we change, or do we just more?
Jeff, I didn't understand the question.
I'm fighting with my phone. How about now?
I can hear you.
Yeah. I guess my question is, does that 3,500 make the capital budget even less attainable? That's all.
I don't believe so.
It's the same. Okay. How much is in the equipment reserve right now?
60 and change.
And what's getting spent for next year in your capital plan?
Nothing at this point.
No purchases next year?
So next year, if we are doing, payment plan would be arrears, so it would pretty much fall into the following budget year to begin with. Any equipment purchased, even if you were to approve and buy a truck today, I would dare say we would not see that truck before August of next year at the very earliest. And if you go payment plan arrears, you wouldn't be making your first payment till August of 23.
Next budget cycle.
And you don't have the $3,400 match anywhere in your budget?
No. I had $2,800 coming back from the municipal grants and aid.
Oh. Yeah.
Is that earmarked for anything?
I'm not sure where that goes. So that was money we spent on the materials to do the work and manpower. But of course, we already have to pay the manpower, and the materials is not that much.
So Jeff, the money coming back just goes into the general fund. It's money that was spent out of budget, it just drops back in. And the board can choose to move it if you wanted, but.
I don't know, I mean, what's the 3-member board at the moment want? Do we want a table for the full board to,
When do you need?
yeah, when's the deadline here?
Letter of intent needs to be signed and returned by Friday.
Yeah, November.
So that won't be,
By Friday. And we didn't know this was coming?
No, we just got it last week. So this is second round. This is money left over from the first round. We were ineligible for the first round. It was sent out to other watersheds, and it was not all spent. There's $80,000 left to be spent. So there's a chance you sign that letter of intent, and we are turned down
Okay.
anyway at this point. So
Got it.
we're of the eligible, because we've never used any of that equipment. So that money's been out there for a few years now and was never used by the town of Fairhaven. And they're looking, from what Rutland Regional Planning Commission said, they believe this is going to be the last time they offer that.
And is it all or nothing, where if we're approved, then we get both pieces, or can they say you can have this
We
piece?
can only go for one.
You can only go for one,
We
so,
can only go for one.
So the rules changed between the time I typed that up and and right now.
so it's the $3,400 for just the one, the blower?
That would be the most. So that's the budget numbers. We haven't bid it yet because I didn't have the signed letter of intent. And my vendors are always asking me, is this a public number? Is this, give me a budget number and I'll let you know when we go to bid, because I don't believe it's fair to give a bid price out and then have to go back to it.
And which piece is most important to you?
The lead blower. That plate compactor would be, the second one would be if they have another round and or we find some savings at the end of the year type of a deal.
It's not a plate compactor, jumping jack, yeah.
But the boys are asking for a real plate compactor, and I told them not yet.
so is there a motion or not? Let us move forward if there's a motion. If there's not, we'll move on. Jeff or Rod? I don't want to put you on this, but if we're not, we'll just,
Yeah,
There's only
right.
a couple of you.
there's only two of us, so we gotta,
Yeah.
if you're not comfortable, that's fine. We'll pass on it this point in time. It's up to you guys.
What do you got, Ron?
Not to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
putting you on the spot.
I mean, can we maintain this equipment? Can we fix it when it breaks?
It's a 24 horse Kohler gas motor carbureted.
Oh, that's not giving me a whole lot of,
You want Honda? Let's see if we put a Honda on it.
Honda, Yamaha, you know,
Like talking Jack.
I always had good experience with the Kohlers. My welders, they always did great for
Ron
me.
hasn't.
no, I haven't.
Really bad luck.
But that's only one man's opinion. So, I mean, can we fix it?
Yes.
And can we house it?
Yeah, and is it gonna be housed outside? Is it gonna be housed,
That'll be inside.
In the new salt
so what gets booted outside?
In the salt shed?
Yeah,
Yeah, right, in the salt
in
shed.
the new one.
Move
The police cars.
the police cars.
Bill's cars are getting put
He's
outside.
not here to defend himself, so. We'll brush them off for when we come in the morning, so they're ready for him.
There you go.
Start them off and warm them up.
It's just,
How big is,
go ahead,
this
Jeff.
isn't that big, right? How big is it?
It's like a
10
4
by
by
10?
4 foot by 5 foot platform.
Yeah. So you gotta have room in the barn pretty easy for that, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you, it's just, it bothers me personally that when we don't talk about a piece of equipment for the longest period of time, they have never had the need, and now all of a sudden, well, we're getting some money towards it, but we have to spend some of our money, and it's now all of a sudden a need, and I just wonder if we're just knee jerk, reacting that we haven't needed it all this time, so we're just gaining equipment.
So the need would be is the push for these stone line ditches, because we've never had those before until we were required to by the state. And now the state's offering this money to try and help us make sure we maintain them, so we're not out there every few years digging them back up to redo them again and not follow the MRGP.
So it's part of their program with the grant?
Part of their push is they want you to be able to maintain what they're paying for you to put in. And if, you know, when they come around to check your status, they want to see that you're actually able to maintain and not having to spend more money to fix what you've already fixed.
Is that what happened on Bigelow Hill? They made you clean those ditches because they weren't maintained properly? Or?
They did not make us at that point, but that was why the guys were up there, was to clean all that stuff out. And as you saw, they were pulling out quite a bit of junk already out of those stones that have only been there for a few years.
And you think this blower will blow that heavy stuff out? I mean, it's
The leaves,
a lot of that is
the leaves and debris stuff, yes, that's what everyone, the towns that are bottom are using it for, is to get that stuff out of those stones so it doesn't build up and hold all the crap that it holds.
Are we gonna have the time, the resources to use this, to physically use it?
Yes, so as I said, if anything, not having to have the grader try and scrape the leaves off the edge of the road because it came down sooner would be just way more beneficial time-wise to clear the road before we even start than to have the grader trying to scrape them off and then have to go back and re-ditch everything because all the leaves are in the ditches.
I agree, Aaron. I saw the mess that it's nobody's fault, but all those leaves make it very difficult to grade the edges of the road with the ditch being right there.
Yep.
You either get the leaves in the ditch or the stone in the road. Yeah, I'll make the motion for you.
What's your motion, Jeff? I don't think I like the 3-member board. It makes it more difficult.
Yeah.
No. Go ahead, Jeff, with your motion. I think it's up to 3,400 is the...
3,400 on the leaf blower, letter of intent, not to exceed grant match of $3,400.
from the equipment reserve fund.
Can you give me anything out of your budget, Aaron? Can we do half out of your budget?
I'll do all of it out of my budget up until I'm over budget come July 1, and then I'll hit you for taking the match out of there. The equipment. Does that work for you?
No.
No? I'll take that out of equipment line for small tools or something in budget.
If we're...
Yeah, I'll read
it.
You get all that?
Yeah.
It's an ongoing.
Yeah.
It's an
I mean, so there's no savings that we could gain.
No.
From-
It would just be if he had some money that he knew he was going to have left over. That's,
No, but this equipment doesn't produce savings,
No.
other than it makes you more efficient on your labor, theoretically.
Efficient on labor and yeah.
And the labor doesn't change.
it should though. It should save some
Material costs.
like ditching material and stuff like that for in the future years, correct?
Yes. That
Like
was,
when you take an inch or two out of the ditch, you get rid of the leaves, you got to put some stone back in, right?
well, the thought is to keep this stuff out of the stone so we don't build up the stone and have to dig the stone out to clean it and put the stone back.
Right, but like today you did, or like the other day when you were ditching up here, you cuffed out some stone, you got to replace that, right?
Yes.
So there's some potential savings.
Yes.
So what was your-
Intangible, though.
yeah, I mean it's
A lot of the stuff I bring forward is to be more efficient and to get more work done.
so Jeff, what was the end of your motion about the funding source?
Let's do 3,400 out of the equipment reserve. It sounds like Aaron doesn't have it in his budget.
Okay, is there a second to Jeff's motion?
Grudgingly.
You gotta be credited. So I think the motion was from Jeff was to authorize up to $3,400 from the equipment reserve fund to match for the purchase of the leaf blower as part of the grant and aid program.
I guess would be
And sign the letter.
And to sign the letter of intent. Is that what you seconded?
Yes.
Okay. Further comments? Questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Do you need Rod too? What do you wanna?
Yes, if Rod could sign it, then I'll, when I go see Jeff, I'll, have him sign
Yeah,
it.
Jeff sign it. Okay. All right, thanks, Aaron. Jeff, how did you want to handle budget review? I mean, it's getting late a little bit.
It's up to you.
There's not two board members here. I mean, do you want to just have Joe give kind of a brief overview of the different departments, and if there's anything major, point those out, and then we can review and ask questions at the next meeting on those ones?
Yep.
Okay. Does that sound fair, Joe?
That sounds perfect.
Okay.
Oh, so town manager, see there was an increase, but that's just the contractual 2.25% increase. Dues and meetings did go up to support, what's it called? My membership in ICMA. Those dues seem to go up every year like everything else. Muni building, there is a, oops, where'd it go? There is a small increase in municipal building. Tech services went up. Nemrick increased their price a little bit. Office supplies, they added a little bit more there because just everything is going up, and paper seems to be something that is starting to cost us more and more. I think that will cover it, I hope. Inflation keeps causing me trouble.
Inspector?
Well, I'm still,
you're still on.
yeah, I'm
Okay,
still
sorry.
floating in Muni building. Miss Brown was in today asking about the fence for the park. This project was, the park painting and repair project was on our a la carte list.
Yep.
And it will cost about $7,000 to get that project done. If the board wanted to take that and put that into the budget, municipal building and grounds would be a good spot to put that. Just saying. Also for municipal building, we requested 2 years ago, we didn't ask last year because of COVID, the building itself, and Lorraine touched on it today again, the building itself, the woodwork on the top of the building is crumbling. It hasn't been painted, and I don't know if anybody knows.
Many years.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody knows when the last time that was.
I can never remember being painted, so, and it is lead paint, so.
Yep, so we did get quotes 2 years ago, and that was at $50,000. So if we want, it's gonna keep getting worse. It's gonna get worse until parts start falling off. Yeah. I know it's a lot. I don't, other than kicking the can down the road, we don't have a lot of options to deal with this kind of thing. Moving on.
What's the technology services increase for?
Nemrick.
Oh, Nemrick.
Yeah, Nemrick, they went up a lot last year, and then they went up a little bit this year. Health inspectors flatlined, though we did, at the request, move $40 from travel and mileage up to the salary line.
You probably don't want to use the word flatline and health inspector in the same sentence.
For some reason, man.
He's doing okay back there. He's fine.
Okay, John. The health inspector has seen a lot of extra work lately, so that seems reasonable.
We won't mention the next project.
Nope. Nicole, the rec director, Nicole is on the line. Nicole Rice. but I'll hit these just very quickly, and she may have something to add. Baseball activities is actually down a little bit, reduction in operating supplies and other purchase services, and that's based on usage. For baseball, maintenance, this has been, baseball diamond maintenance is another one of those things that we just keep letting slip and slip and slip, like town hall. Last year, we were very lucky to have a great, huge group of volunteers come out and spend, it must have been 2 or 3 whole weekends, cleaning the fields, putting up the home run fence, rebuilding dugouts, like the whole 9 yards, as they say, was redone. But we need to add some money to maintain our properties. It would cost $5,000 annually for maintenance on these properties. As part of that, I would propose a groundskeeper just to maintain the ball fields. We do have Joe Festa that does a lot of mowing. He maintains every property in town except for one cemetery. And sometimes the ball fields, the grass gets tall, the garbage blows around. We got one guy that maintains all the properties in town, and it just happens. Also, as part of that, we're still going. An all-year part-time rec director. Something we asked for a couple of years ago, and it got put on the back burner. We're asking again. That would be an additional $10,000 annually. And I ask all these things knowing what it does to the budget. But I think we need to ask ourselves, what do we want to be? What does the town of Fairhaven want to have? Do we want to have good year-long programs for our kids and our residents? Or do we want to sit back every winter and say, boy, I wish we could do something in our park. It's a nice park. We should do something in the winter. And then let another winter go by and say, boy, we should have done something last winter. Rec department, you'll see a $5,600 increase there. That's 100% driven by summer wages. Our minimum wage went up, and that's the direct impact on that. Special events is flat funded.
Is that, Joe, where we might want to consider, for consideration, the, I think Seal or Lorraine brought up the IBC committee. Would that be a special event?
Oh, so if the little bit they've been asking for, I've been taking it out of recreation.
You've been taking it, okay, out of the rec?
Yeah, because they seem to be something that's
Gotcha, up
it's
there.
more like communities.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Just for a note from.
Intergovernmental, that's our taxes. Last year it was 19.9. I bumped it up to 18,000 this year. I don't know what those are going to be until I get the bill, and I haven't got the bill yet. And then you'll see judgments and damages. That's come down $5,000. That's because our not premium. What's it called? The $1,000 you pay out to pay a claim. To get a claim.
Deductible.
The deductible. Our deductible came down from $2,000 to $1,000. So I reduced that by half. And that's my overview.
Unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to have this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Nicole, are you still on it? Did you want to add anything, or are you all set?
Yeah, I'm on. I don't know, where you guys are at right now in regards to like decision making or things like that. But I think the big thing about the year-round part-time is that this is exactly what families are asking for. I non-stop all fall, all winter are getting messages and calls from families just looking for more activities for kids in the 5th grade and younger range that our schools don't cover. And I do think it's like our duty as a rec department to really pick up those pieces. Just in regards to like soccer programming, basketball programming. And we've piloted this a little bit. Like we've been running a basketball program for 2 years completely free of charge in regards to director meetings and scheduling and those kind of things. And I just think You know, it's just an extreme need for our community to just offer more after school, and, you know, sporting activities for our youth. So
Okay.
just huge consideration on that piece.
Yep. And we're probably gonna review this as a full board. Joe and you are just gonna go over the kind of brief overview, and then I know Glenn will have questions, I know Carol will have questions, so we'll get everybody back together for this section in more detail. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Nicole. Parking lot. Anything
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, for the parking lot, we added the inclusion policy, and then we took off the, what was that other one? The tax increment, or I'm sorry, the tax stabilization, yeah, tax stabilization.
Board roundtable. Jeff, are you all set?
I got a request from, Bob Richards to bring up, hydro, is it the EDC or the Energy Committee is interested in, pursuing a, right of first refusal on the property around the dams so that project could continue. Without it, they don't see a lot of future. And they are at some point in the near future gonna come to the board, and ask for that. So just, Bob wanted to give everybody a heads up.
Okay.
So we're talking about an option.
That's what they're talking about, yeah.
Purchase option or use option. Okay.
They'd like to start the process of negotiating and, get an idea of what that would look like.
Okay.
Back to the board.
All right.
No details yet.
Good. Was Bob gonna get back to you, or maybe come see the board if he's
I think
able?
he was working with Joe on getting on the agenda to actually talk about it. He had a conflict tonight.
Okay.
With a Rutland regional meeting, so.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Anything else, Joe?
Does that sound right to you, Joe?
It does, yes.
Okay.
No, I'm good otherwise.
All right. Do you have the financial reports,
do.
Jeff? Okay.
Yep. Yep, did Rod have anything, or you're to that?
No, I'm fine. Thanks.
Okay. Motion to pay the payroll warrant, $32,723.64.
Okay. And Rod's gonna second?
I second, yeah.
All right.
Enthusiastically.
Enthusiastically.
Can you repeat the value, please? I'm sorry.
$32,723.64.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Jeff?
Ron won't be so enthusiastic about this.
No, this is a big one.
Motion to pay the general fund warrant, $499,945.29.
I'll get it for you.
Do you have the big hitters?
I do not.
$30,000. No. Naylor and Breen, 343,000
Yep.
plus. And then Aldrich and Elliott has a 34,475. And the revolving loan to Dave is 30,000.
So this was all mainly sewer related.
Mostly, yes.
Yeah, a lot of it.
I guess the only question I have, are we to the questions?
I don't know, did we get there? Jeff made the motion.
No, yeah,
Rod
okay.
seconded
I
it.
second, yeah.
Questions on that?
Question away.
Yeah, what is, let's see. Jeez, I had it right here. Oh, what's live scan?
That's the police department's new fingerprinting machine.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Chris, yeah.
Because there's 18.5 on that too. Is that a recurring?
And that's grant funded too. So that's money in and going out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not tax, well,
I was just,
It is, but it's.
yeah.
okay, so I just didn't recognize that vendor and that service.
Jeff, did you have any questions on them?
No, I'm okay.
All right. Are you gonna stop in tomorrow and sign them? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.
Checkbook is, $422,686.65.
Okay. We had an executive session for manager review, which I want to table till the next meeting.
Okay.
If you guys are fine with that.
Yeah, I think it's less productive if we have 3
Yeah.
out of 5.
Okay. So, and then we had one other executive session that town manager added for contract negotiations. Is there a motion for that one?
I make a motion to go into executive session with the town manager.
1 VSA.
1 VSA,
313.
yeah, 313A, 3.
A1.
Oh, A1, okay, I'm sorry, A1.
You got the number. All right. So Rod made that motion. Jeff, did you second?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.